And so today, we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Sheba report. I'm going to talk about some of NAREB's policy positions, as well as we're going to talk about some of the technology that NAREB is utilizing from a political standpoint in terms of how we are having our voices heard. So we're going to talk about that. That's a huge component. And there's a large area of opportunity for California specifically to have a stronger footprint with the technology that we're utilizing through the Advocacy Hub. So that's a little bit about how we're going to what we're going to go through today. So I'm going to share my screen. Do I have sharing capabilities, Kama? Okay, I do. What screen is it?
Sorry, yes, you should.
Okay. All right, so I have a very short presentation, but we'll have a dialogue and a conversation. I also will, at the end of this, through this conversation, I'll put a copy of the 2025 Sheba report. For those of you who don't have it, you'll be able to get that copy in here. It's also available on the NAREB site under Sheba Solutions. All 14 years of the Sheba report are hosted on the website. But I'll put the most recent version in the chat as well, so you guys can have that for your reference, and maybe you can save that. Okay. So again, my name is Otis L. Milton, and I serve as the NAREB PAC chair going into the second year under President Thomas's administration. I was appointed this position, and it is a complete honor. Again, I've served as the first vice president for CAREB, heading up legislation affairs. At this point, many years ago, I call it BC, before COVID, when I was the first VP, and that really helped me gain a greater understanding of how policy works and how policy drives our industry, right, and the communities and the clients that we serve. So we'll talk a little bit about what Sheba entails. Here. So here, and I think everybody on this call is at least somewhat familiar with Sheba. It's not a new term that you're not used to, but Sheba does stand for the State of Housing in Black of America. Now, this is an annually produced report by the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, and it's a vital resource. It's been a vital resource for over a decade, evolving to reflect changing landscape of housing challenges faced by Black Americans. In the wake of the housing market collapse and ongoing economic disparities, this report serves as a critical purpose in addressing the systemic issues that hinder Black homeownership and the community stability. So this report, it doesn't only call out the problems, but it also is solution based, right? So I would we don't have time to go through the whole nearly 100-page report, but I want to give you some highlights and just talk about some of the most important key pieces in terms of how we derive at that data. So data driven is the number one. This is a very data driven report. If you've never looked at it, again, I implore you guys to look at it because it is very detailed. And we're already working on the 2025 version, which we would be releasing in a few months at the Black Summit that's going to be at Jackson University, HBCU, and that'll be in November. So the next version is already being worked on. So again, this is a very data-driven insight report. And in this report, the biggest thing that we want to address is the NAREB's policy positions, right? So what are we advocating for? If I think all of us on this call are very familiar with President Thomas, he is the advocacy president. And so there's a huge focal point in terms of advocating, not just for the communities that we serve, but also for us as practitioners, as the frontliners, practitioners in the business on the front line. These policies have effect on our day-to-day, right? For us in California, Prop 19, that's been one that we've been, throwing punches at it since it's passed, right? And so what we wanted to do on the national level is not always be trailing the policy, right? And try to get ahead of the policy. Repealing something is very, 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 very difficult, right? And that we seem to always have ended up on the other side, and we weren't at the table when the policy was, either being contrived or being amended, right? And so, again, President Thomas is vision is for us to get ahead of that, right? And so there's some of these policy positions we're familiar with, and I'll share here with you. And one of them, number one, is limiting institutional investor dominance in the single family market. Now, I think most of you sell real estate. You're aware of this, right? Especially here in Los Angeles, where I am, large institutional investors have bought up a lot of our single family properties, and they do not come back to the market for sale, right? They become rentals. So that's lost inventory that we're losing as practitioners to be able to sell and market, et cetera, to kind of keep the ecosystem of real estate going. That's been going on. That's been a conversation for years. And put a pin in that, because we'll talk about that particular part of the policy priorities coming up in the next couple of slides, because there's been some success there thus far. The second policy priority is modernizing lending guidelines to promote fair housing. So, there's tons of different things that go into lending. I don't know if there's any lenders on the call. I think President James, you can make and speak to some of this stuff. There's a lot of guidelines as it pertains to lending, and they're almost ever changing, right? And so looking to modernize those guidelines. So what NAREB does, NAREB urges FHA to align the guidelines with the conventional market for spouses' obligation of debt. This is an actual national call to action initiative that we have going on right now. So let me explain what that looks like, okay? There's 9 community property states, right? What does community property state means? Means if you are married in one of those 9 states, California being one of them, probably the largest of them all, us in Texas. Meaning if you have an applicant apply for a mortgage and they're married and they want to obtain an FHA loan, which a good portion of first-time home buyers will apply for an FHA loan, their spouse's debts must be added to the debt-to-income ratio without their income being included, right? So we believe that that's a fair housing violation, and it's a negative connotation on marriage, right? I've even had people say, well, maybe we should wait to get married so we can buy a house, right? Because they want to utilize the minimum down payment of a 3.5% of FHA loan. And so what we're urging FHA to do is to mirror what Fannie and Freddie do. What conventional does is we're allowed to quit claim the spouse from that, alleviating any financial obligation from them. Not so their debt's not needing to be not to be included within that debt to income ratio, increasing the affordability, right? So we're advocating for affordability and access all within the same initiative here. Is everybody familiar with community property state, the initiative, and how that works? I don't want to go too fast because I can talk fast, but I want to address that if there's any questions about how that works and what we're doing to address that. Is everybody familiar?
No, can you please speak to that?
Who said that?
Janisha.
How you doing, Ms. Janisha? Yes. So I'll give you, let's give you a scenario, a real life scenario, Ms. Janisha. So let's say if you have a client, right? And they're married. Maybe they just recently married and they want to purchase a property. And let's say that the wife's credit is a little bit better than the husband because he has larger student loan debts, etc. So we say, hey, well, and she has enough income to qualify on her own. We say, hey, well, can we just do it with me and then not include my husband? So to obtain an FHA loan, you would have to include that spouse's debts within the qualification, even though he's not going on the loan application, even though his income won't be considered, his debt will be considered. And that's because of the law of the community property state, right? That is only true in community property states, and that is only true with FHA loans, right? So what NAREB is doing and what we're advocating for and urging HUD and FHA to do is to mirror what Fannie and Freddie does. So with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, with a conventional loan that you're saying buyers, the wife would be able to obtain that property, purchase it with just her name, and exclude her husband's debts out of the debt to income ratio, right? So again, if he has, a car note or student loans, etc., that could minimize their buying power or completely knock them out of purchasing a property whatsoever. And we believe that that's a hindrance. And we've done research, and there are some figures that I don't have with me right now, but there are figures of homes that were lost, like escrows that were not closed based on this particular rule, right? So there is data that supports our thesis here in terms of urging HUD and FHA to mirror what Fannie and Freddie does, opening up access and affordability to obtain first-time home buyers that are utilizing FHA mortgages. I hope that adds a little bit of clarity for you, Ms. Janisha. And if not, I'll also share the Community Property State Initiative document with us before we end this session as well. I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. Question, should I ask questions now or wait till you're done?
No, go ahead. Let's go.
Thank you. With regard to financing, I know another thing that comes up for our home buyers is that lenders, even for the other products like a standard conventional loan, they will use the credit score that is the lowest of a couple if both are being applied. Does what we're doing address that as well, or is what we're doing only apply to the FHA situation?
So this initiative does not address any credit score. So that is that is the model amongst all loans, standard loans, FHA conventional, non-QM loans. It's the lowest middle score of all borrowers. Right? That is a qualifying score. Now you do have some additions to credit. So Vantage credit scores and reports are now accepted for most lenders on conventional loans. So there is different credit scoring models in the mortgage industry. They use the classic FICO system, which we've used since forever. Within the last year, we have been allowed to use Vantage score. So like you're familiar with Credit Karma, right? We're all familiar with Credit Karma. People are like, well, my Credit Karma score doesn't match my FICO score, because that's a different scoring system. It's a Vantage scoring system. Previously, Vantage scoring credit reports were not allowed for mortgage applications. Now they are. So there has been an addition to that, but that's separate from this particular thing. So the lowest middle credit score is still the guideline amongst all loan types at the present time. But you can utilize a classic FICO credit report or Vantage credit report.
Got you. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. And then the third policy position that we addressed in the Sheba report is ending appraisal bias. Now, I mean, I think that is self-explanatory. And it seems like it's 2026. How can we still be going through appraisal biases? But we are still going through appraisal biases, and it's nationwide. It's not isolated to any one particular area. And so what NAREB does is urges federal agencies to continue to scrutinize ways to improve the accuracy of home appraisals, increase transparency in automated valuation models, and adopt standardized fair valuation frameworks to ensure property values truly reflect the market conditions rather than racial bias. Now, I think we have to be careful what we ask for, right? Because right now, there is a new appraisal system. It's called the UAD 3.6. Is everyone familiar or heard of the essentially new appraisal report, the UAD 3.6? Am I dropping gems, or you guys know this already?
This is new information for me, unless you're talking about the new requirements where there's like 160 something new points that an appraiser has to put in a report.
Yeah, so that's kind of a part. Yeah, that's a part of the new report. Yeah, so and it goes in mandatory effect November 2nd of this year. It has been available since March of this year. Some lenders have begun to use it, some lenders have not. But it will be mandatory on all conventional loans come November 2nd. So essentially, it's a new system in totality of how appraisal reports will be completed. So I don't have time to go deep into what the ULAD is, but I would implore that you guys do some research on your own, and it may be something we could do another session about, to dive deeper into that. Because I don't think a lot of people are even familiar about that, that are doing this, because a lot of lenders aren't doing it. So you may be getting your buyers into escrow or whatever the case may be, and you're just going through the process, but and the lenders are still utilizing the old, and the appraisers are still utilizing the old format. But again, come November 2nd, there'll be a new format. So I would say familiarize yourself with that. It's a lot more technological with the new system. It's going to eliminate some of the forms that we used to have as additions to the report. So like a 1007, if you have like a multi-unit property, if you need a rent survey, that's going to be reported differently within the new appraisal report, the ULAT 3.6. So my concern about that is, again, that particular piece is there's going to be some algorithmic components to that system, which again lacks transparency. So who builds the algorithm, right? So who codes the algorithm is my question. Because I am a loan officer and a lender, and I've seen inconsistencies when it comes to algorithm-based like desktop underwriting, right? And so I've had loans that I've submitted and I've gotten approvals on, and I've had loans that were better than that in terms of the application not get approved, right? Like, well, what's going on, right? But there's an actual algorithm that Fannie Mae utilizes, and they actually update that system. It's typically quarterly, but it could happen in between. But most people don't know that even happens unless you go to the Fannie Mae site and you look up their newsletters and see that they've made changes to DU, to the algorithm system, in terms of how they're weighing FICO scores or how they're weighing certain debts and risk, etc. That changes, right? So you could submit a file in January and submit a file in September, and they're simply the same files, and one got approved and one's not getting approved. And that's because the algorithm has changed. So I would again encourage you guys to look on the Fannie Mae site for those updated changes in terms of what they're going to change within the algorithm that is DU. And for Freddie Mac, it is LP. It is on their websites, and I would encourage you to check it out. Yes.
Would you mind at some point in time maybe sending it out to me, and when we send out the recording of this, we can have that information sent out to, because it's going to go to the membership as a whole. Yeah, and then we'll talk offline about you maybe presenting this at conference as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely send you a few things for you to send to the membership once we conclude this. So obviously, ending appraisal biases. These are the three major policy priorities for NAREB, and all of these are drawn out in further detail within the SHIBA report. And again, I'll put a copy of the most recent SHIBA report once I'm done presenting with you here. And so before I move on to the Advocacy Hub, any questions? Let me grab it while we're talking. Any questions about the policy priorities for NAREB, or about the SHIBA report in totality this far? Because I want to talk about how we're utilizing the Advocacy Hub to expand our reach as it pertains to reaching out to our local officials and essentially making NAREB's voice heard and become a household name in the political realm. So any questions about that before we move forward?
I didn't see any questions. I don't know if anyone have any.
Chat, so
I didn't see any questions. Also, I don't know, because I'm on my phone, so I'm just noticing this. I noticed that you're not in presenter mode. I didn't know if you had planned on being in presenter mode.
Yeah,
but are you good?
Screen. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Let me see if I can do it. Okay, I got it. It got it. Can you see it now?
Let's see. Yeah. No, it's in presenter mode. I'm sorry, but we see. You have to switch it now. We see your slides upcoming.
Okay. Oh, I gotta switch the screens. I see. Okay, hold on. How about now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So next, I want to talk about and share with you guys is the Advocacy Hub. Has everyone seen that on the new NAREB website? Has everyone been there? Have you heard of it? Have you seen the Advocacy Hub? It is a new component to the NAREB website. And Kama, yes. I know you, but you don't count here. All right. So maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Okay. But I want to talk to you a little bit about it. because this is a huge deal in terms of what NARAB's impact. So the Advocacy Hub, there's two homes within the Advocacy Hub. One is the Legislative Library. And the Legislative Library is a centralized advocacy resource that helps realtors stay informed on housing, mortgage, and fair lending and community development legislation impacting Black homeownership and economic opportunities. Members can track bills, view legislation status, understand NARAB's policy positions, and identify issues affecting their local communities through zip code-based searches. It supports NARAB's mission of advocacy, affordability, access by turning policy awareness into informed action. So again, the Legislative Library is the hosting spot where if you go on there, even right now, you can see the actual bills that we are monitoring, right? These are bills that may be in introductory stages, they may be in committee stages, they may be in amendment stages. They're not law yet. So these are things that we can review, that my committee reviews, that the PAC committee reviews. We see fit, whether it's to share support or lack of support. We share that with the national office. They give us feedback and we move accordingly. So the Legislative Library is kind of your one-stop shop to kind of see what policies are going on nationally. And we are, and the way we do that is we monitor all of the committees that originate housing policy, right? So the Housing and Finance Department, there's a few other committees that originate that type of legislation. So we monitor those. We also have keywords that we monitor. So anything that has to do with mortgage financing, we get that information as it comes through the system that we're utilizing now. We'll talk about that in just a second. So the first component of the Advocacy Hub is a Legislative Library. That's where you can get all of the information of policy that we're reviewing currently. Okay. And then the next component of the Advocacy Hub is the call to action. I think this is probably the most important thing that we're doing with the PAC committee and with NARAB right now is the call to action page. So the call to action page is NARAB's membership engagement platform designed to mobilize realtors community advocates around key housing and home ownership issues. It provides opportunities to connect with policymakers, participate in advocacy campaigns, access engagement resources, and support NARAB's effort to advance equity housing policies and expand Black home ownership. Now, when we finish these next two slides, then we'll go into the call to action page, and I'll show you guys some of the details because you guys are on this call are leaders, and CAREB has I believe has a huge opportunity to really expand this, with us being one of the largest states within NARAB. Okay, so with the call to action page, very, very, very simple, right? So what we've seen in the past is when we wanted to have a unified voice, maybe somebody like Zaretha would write up a letter template and she would email it out, or we would ask members to write a letter to your congressman or your local officials, etc. And the letters, you might get 10 of them in totality because people have time. Like that's a time restraint that takes away. So with the call to action platform, members and community, this is not just a member, so you can share this with your clients, people in your community, people in your sphere that want to advocate for some of the things that we're doing. They can also utilize the platform to have their voice be heard by their local officials. So with this page, you're able to, there's letter templates for whatever our call to action is. Now, our first call to action that we did was, and this was back in December, the first national call to action that President Thomas implored. It was in support for the 21st Century Housing Act bill that I am proud to announce that has passed. It was a bipartisan piece of legislation, which, is tough to come by today. But I think I don't think anybody can disagree that housing is an issue. And I think that's why both sides of the aisles were able to come together. It did go back and forth between the House and the Senate for amendments and revisions, but it has passed as of July 13th, and I did report that at the conference. So this is a piece of legislation that has passed, that is now law, that NARAB supported through our national call to action. And then the next slide, we're going to look at the numbers, right, in terms of what that looked like in terms of support. I want to share this with you guys because you're leaders, and I think that CAREB in particular, California, the state, we showed up, but I think we could show up better. But I think part of the reason is the information, right? So I want to make sure you guys have the information so that you're empowered when you're in your local chapters, when you're in communities, to share this information as well, okay? So let's look at the national call to action. This is a map of the states. And here, there's more states in here, but I just copied the top 10 states, right, that actually sent letters, right? So Alabama got us beat, guys, in California, right? We obviously have a much larger state in terms of membership, right? So I think the total number was we had about 1,200 members across the country support this. So again, they went into the call to action. The letter template is already built within the page. All you simply do is fill in your basic information, and you're going to put in your address and zip code where you are, where your business is, and it's going to automatically send that to those officials for that particular jurisdiction, right? So for me here in LA, when I did my call to action request letter go out, it's automatically sent to Senator Padilla, Maxine Waters, and a few other officials for my jurisdiction and my zip code, right? Every person, once you put in your information, it automatically, this is very easy. And so what we wanted to do was make it streamline the process so that there's no more excuses and that we can have a much larger and louder impact when we're doing these types of things and we're trying to make our voice heard. So again, we'll look at this. So Alabama had the most. They had 198 members or community, because again, this is not just, it's on the NAREB website. So anybody who visits the NAREB website and goes to the call to action and completes it, that data will be captured and it will be sent out to those officials. So we had Alabama, top 5, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, California, and North Carolina. So there is currently, I think this is still up there, which it's gonna eventually come down probably in the next couple of weeks, but there is a few other call to actions on the website right now. So if you haven't taken a chance to look at that and complete the call to action, I would encourage you to do so. I will say with the new call to actions, I see CAREB stepping up, California stepping up. So please make sure that you're sharing this information with your fellow members. If there's any local board presidents, share this information. If there's more detail you want to have me have this conversation with your chapters, please reach out. I don't mind jumping on a Zoom or attending one of the meetings to speak about this in more detail. Any questions about the Advocacy Hub, about the Legislative Library, or the National Call to Action feature? Because this actually goes into my next part of Q&A, and then we're going to go into the actual website after this and take a look.
Yeah, there's no questions in the chat.
Okay. All right, let me stop sharing. Let me pull up the site for you so we can take a look at this. Are you guys able to see the NAREB website right now? Okay. So when you're on the NAREB website, again, this is the newest feature within the website. You're going to click on the Advocacy Hub. It's going to take you to the Legislative Library. So as I spoke about, when you get to the Legislative Library, it's going to show you our current issues. So this is one that we're currently having a call to action for. And this is adding the term realtist to the dictionary. Right. Again, this is in efforts to make the realtist name a household name. Again, because we are the only national trademark organization that has a trademark name, right? And so we want to make that real, right? We want it to be out there. So here you can actually take the action here for this particular thing. So when you come here, you hit take action. You come here, my information's here. I've actually already done this, but it's going to send this to dictionary.com and to Webster Dictionary. So you can preview the letter. here's the letter. I've already put in my information. So when it sends a letter, it has my information on there. You don't have to write a whole letter. You simply have to put in your name and email, and it's going to send it out for you, right? So again, if you haven't done this, I would recommend that you do this because this is something that NARAB is tracking. We want to see what type of engagement we're getting so that we figure out how and if what we need to do to expand the word to make sure that everyone's even aware that this is a thing, right? So next part of when you're at an advocacy hub, you can look at the bills, right? So these are the bills that we are currently monitoring, okay? And these bills are all in different types of statuses, right? So you'll see here, it'll show that we're monitoring this bill. It'll show you whether if we supported a bill. I'll scroll down too far. So this is the 21st century bill. This was a bill that we actually supported. This was the one that we spoke about that has passed and is now law. The 21st Century Housing Act. So this was our first national call to action. We supported this bill and it passed. There's some other things that the committee is looking at right now. We're having conversations with the national office in terms of other support, particular bills that we feel is relevant and prevalent to our community and to our members. I won't go too in detail of those yet because I haven't got approval to talk about it yet. But this is the legislative library. So this has tons of data here. So let me show you a little bit what it looks like. If you click into one of these, it's going to tell you who sponsors this bill. It's going to tell you related bills. It's going to tell you who co-sponsored, the whole nine. So there's tons and tons of information for you to be informed with. This is something we've never had before, right? Clinton, you've been around. President James, you've been around for a minute. We was trying to Google this type of stuff before. You know what I mean?
Yes, we were.
Having 3-hour sessions trying to figure out who represents what. So everything is centralized.
Absolutely.
Now, making it a lot easier for our members to access. Okay. I think this is huge. So again, this became law as of July 11th, 2026. So we're just about a month into this becoming law. Okay. It tells you the committees, it gives you the history of the bill, etc. Right. So this is something that every member has access to. Ms. Kathleen, you have a question?
Hi. It's kind of off topic a little bit, but would you think it would be a good idea if you maybe had a session during midwinter showing realtors how to actually use Advocacy Hub so that more of them can bring their computers and actually just use it, or even just a Zoom again on the national level?
That's a great question. I do think so. The thing is, I'm not the person who makes the courses at the conference. So that's a good question. That's something we can talk to President Thomas about and the committee chair, the conference committee chair about. And there is a second component to that question, but it's off. It may be off, but it's a great question, and it's something that we've thought about. So right now, most of you've heard, National is looking to have each local committee have a public affairs chair, right? A PAC chair for each local chapter. So right now, the committee is putting a training program together for those individuals that will be having the PAC chair, and how to access and utilize the Advocacy Hub will be a part of that training. So there will be something that your PAC chairs will be able to do individually. But I do think it's good to address at the conference as well. So I will definitely mention that to the powers that be, and we'll see. But great question. Thank you, Kat. Any other questions about the legislative library? Before we looked at the call to action as well. So again, this is a great deal of information. You can click on these particular reps, senators, etc., and get their information all the way down to their staffers, the whole nine, right? So this is huge especially for CAREB, as CAREB utilizes their platform politically. You guys can utilize this to gather data, right? And so there's a back end system that we utilize that hosts and funnels all this information. And that is called Congress Plus, right? This is a very large platform that any organization that's large that utilizes PAC or has political advocacy mission, it is utilizing this type of platform. It's very expensive platform, but it's very necessary. And obviously we've seen the benefit with us utilizing it for the first year. So that is where all the data comes from, is Congress Plus. So it's almost like real-time data. My email gets flooded with new bills like every morning with the data that comes from Congress Plus. And then that data is funneled through the national office and put it into the NAREB website, into the Advocacy Hub. Any questions about this? Did y'all have any clue that this was this detailed? Y'all learned something today, right?
Yes, very good.
Great. Okay, let me share. This is just the directory I wanted to share. So in the directory, you can put in a zip code, and it will tell you who the officials are for that area. So if you're like, we're in Solano, who are the officials? You can easily put in the address, zip code for Solano, and it's going to tell you exactly who is who, and then you can figure out how to reach them. Okay. So this is on the website, so you don't have to have a login to get this information. You can go right on the NAREB website and utilize this information. So please utilize it as a resource. And I think you're right, Kat. I think if we did something on a larger scale to bring more awareness to the membership, maybe we get some more buy-in. So I don't know how long I've been speaking or how much longer I got, but that is the information that I have for you. So we can have some dialogue, some conversation. And again, I want to thank VP Burton and the Education Committee for having me, and Mr. James for having me. I appreciate you guys. I'm here for any questions or to just chop it up about the presentation. But again, thank you.
Thank you. That was some really, really good information. And, that's how we build and we grow. Before we pass things along, are there any other questions? All right. Well, we'll be talking to you more about the other information you talked about regarding the appraisal changes. I was told that potentially they might be asking for the transfer disclosure and the seller's property questionnaire as well. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. Like there's even. So now on the new, I've done some research on it. I put a little video out on it, little 90-second video, shameless plug on my Instagram if y'all can check it out. And I'm gonna do a deeper dive on it too. But there's a lot of components. There's actually a bedroom to bedroom analysis now in terms of how they're evaluating the properties. There's a lot of opportunity for lack of transparency. I'll say that, right? So again, I just want us to be aware. Most real estate agents I speak to, and I speak to quite a bit of them through being in NAREB and also, being a lender myself, they have no idea that this is even like, what are you talking about? There's a new appraisal thing happening. So again, I hope that was information and we can talk about that. And I will send you a few attachments. I'll send you the Community Property Initiative documents. I'll send you the Sheba Report 2025, and I'll send you the information on the ULAT 3.6 appraisal. So you can send that out to the membership as well.